let's talk about disinheritance. This may or may not apply to your family. If it doesn't, then you can just skip this section and leave it blank. A disinheritance is what it sounds like. Someone who is basically a child or descendant of yours, you, for whatever reason, don't want to leave anything to them. There might be a lot of reasons why that is, and we don't need to know them. You don't need to outline the reasons here. We just need to know that it's your intent to disinherit that particular person. So don't focus on siblings of yours or a parent of yours, or of course not friends. We're talking about people who otherwise would have a right. They might come in and say, well, my name was accidentally omitted and that wasn't intentional and I do deserve my share. So we're talking about someone who actually would have a right to their share, which tends to be a spouse or partner or children. Now, spouse or partner disinheritances can get a little complicated. That might actually indicate that you do need to work with an attorney directly. Nevertheless, you could name them here if you want to, because you can name anyone here. So again, just focus here on naming a spouse or partner, of course, if applicable. That would be unusual, but it might be the right choice for your situation, and that's totally fine. Or children or grandchildren of yours. So identify that person by name here on the screen. Then also think through this. Do you also want to disinherit their own descendants? So let me give you an example. If I had a sibling who had a serious drug problem, money problem, crime problem, whatever it might be, my mom might want to disinherit that child of hers, right? So instead of 1/4 to each, of her 4 children, I'm the oldest of 4, she might say 1/3, and she disinherits that one child who's got the crime or drug problem. However, if he had a son, let's say that's my mom's grandson, does she really want to basically disinherit her own grandson who probably has nothing to do with his own father's, crime, drugs, or whatever it might be going on in his life that make it appropriate to disinherit him? She may say, I want to disinherit that child, but not their descendants. So it really just depends on your family makeup and situation, and of course your own desires. This is your last will, nobody else's, so you get to decide. But that is an important choice. So don't think just about the person. Think about, well, what if they have kids? Or maybe they already do, and you want to be incredibly clear. Again, we're avoiding anything that's murky or unstated. Be clear. When you say you're disinheriting X person, does that also mean, or does it not mean? Again, we're going to be clear either way that their descendants are also disinherited.
So a question I often get is, do I need to disinherit like my stepbrother or my stepmother or in-laws or my child's future spouse, my child's spouse that I don't like? Legally, often these people don't have rights, but it can get murky in certain situations if people have passed away. So often it's better to just list them as disinherited. The other thing that I hear a lot is, ooh, I want to disinherit my son, but it feels harsh to list them as disinherited and to use the word disinherited. Can't I do it the reverse and just leave them out? And the answer is no, right? The reverse creates confusion. So you do need to actually go through the step and list them as disinherited if you want them to be disinherited. Unfortunately, that's the way you're going to get that result. The other question that often comes up is this going to create conflict with other family members? And often it can. And so I usually err on, you should be having these conversations now. You should be thinking about it now. If your goal is to really minimize conflict, then you may not want to disinherit. I do find that disinheritances are the most confusing area. And this might be an area that you may want to speak with an attorney to go through more in depth, to talk about your situation. Obviously, we've put together these tools to empower you, to have you get started, but we want you to understand that disinheritances, especially in certain states, can cause a lot of issues. So you want to make sure you really understand what that means. The other thing that comes up a lot is, well, what if we reconcile, right? And so I'm often counseling clients who initially are like, I want to disinherit, but I then ask them that question. Well, if you reconcile, would you give them an inheritance? And they say yes. And then we're talking through, okay, does it really make sense to disinherit? Are you guys actively taking steps? So I wouldn't rush into doing a disinheritance. I would take the time to really contemplate it. And I know I'm telling you, hey, put something in place now. It's better than nothing. But that's the things that I see people down the road really causing problems, where they do reconcile and they regret that they did it, or they don't get around to changing it, and can cause problems down the road.